It's pretty true. I know 90s kids and N64 fanboys are telling us what's iconic or not, obviously. But think about how Nintendo YouTubers have just dominated internet gaming discourse for so long that, yeah, okay, yeah. Why did Nintendo YouTubers pretend like Banjo-Kazooie was a huge franchise of cultural phenomenon? It was a fad for 2 years and then died out like from Zim. Okay, this is why we count as like Banjo-Kazooie and Mega Man are in Smash Bros. It is because these people have shaped the perception of what's iconic or not. Okay, most people, unless they have played Smash Bros. Ultimate, do not know who Mega Man is. Okay, Mega Man 11 only sold like 2 million copies compared to Monster Hunter selling like 10 million copies, Resident Evil selling 10 million copies, or Street Fighter, the newest one, selling 10 million copies as well. Okay, I'm misusing those as estimates. But those games sell far better than Mega Man. But yet Mega Man is considered more iconic in the eyes of the 90s kids. Okay, you know, I think Banjo-Kazooie is the most jarring example besides Shantae. Okay, was I'm surprised they never brought up Shantae and, people calling her an icon of the gaming industry when her game series sold just as much as this Croc Resident of the Goobos game, which is pretty funny. The fact that the entire franchise was they love to overrate, so as much as Croc Resident of the Goobos is pretty hilarious. Which shows that Santa games don't sell too well. But yet, for some reason, they keep making them. Probably because they're like easy to make or something. But if they made like a massive, like a Santa movie, like no one would watch it because she's not that iconic of a character. She is not that well known compared to other characters. But again, these are the people who shaped the online discourse of what's iconic or not. And yet, the PS1 has had, like the most iconic games for the PS1 would be Metal Gear, Final Fantasy, and Crash Bandicoot. Those are the games that really shape the online discourse of what's iconic and popular of the past as well. I think it's because in the early 2010s, there was a lot of Nintendo YouTubers that became very popular. The problem is, a lot of people like my age can't relate to them because we did not grow up in the 90s. We did not have no N64. We had the newer consoles. We had the 360s. We had the PS3s. We had the PS2s, the GameCubes, the original Xbox, the Wii. We did not have the N64 because that was not the current hardware available because it was discontinued. We had stuff like the Game Boy Advance. You may have had the Game Boy because of how prevalent that console was. Some people might have had very few people might have had a PS4 or N64, but most of the time people have sold their N64s for newer consoles or has kept it in the closet or something, you know. Yeah, but most people who grew up in the 2000s were familiar with those consoles. And I just don't understand what's so hard for N64 fanboys to see this. Like, how many copies does the N64 sell? 42 million copies. That is the widely accepted source online. But we're acting like everybody, but the online discourse was like everyone owned an N64. Everyone had an N64. But that wasn't true. N64 was only in a small portion of people's homes compared to the PS1 as well. Okay, same thing with the GameCube versus the PS2. Yes, I know what the GameCube is, but most people who grew up in the 2000s grew up with PS2. That's why the term PS2 game is usually referred to when a game has bad graphics. Okay, there are a lot of people grew up with the Wii, 360, and PS3. That was probably the most balanced console generation ever. And of course, now you have Gen Z and Gen Alpha. They're gonna start nostalgic for PS4 and Xbox One. Okay, I'm sorry, but eventually these Banjo-Kazooie is gonna become forgotten because the people who grew up with Banjo-Kazooie, are eventually going to be shaped out of the online discourse. I think that's what's going to happen. Okay, unless we find a magical cure for aging, yeah, eventually it's going to happen. Banjo-Kazooie is going to be forgotten about. And same thing with, I think not the N64. I think N64 may be remembered as a step in gaming history. But a game like Banjo-Kazooie, I think, will become forgotten in the future. Kind of like how Mega Man is now. Okay, no one talks about Mega Man anymore. Okay, outside of people who grew up in the 90s. Okay? And that's about this video here. Goodbye.